Thank you for the introduction, first and foremost. And hello, everyone. My name is Robbe Nees. I'm 25 years old, and I'm working for CanDesign about 2 years now. I work in the design team as well as the brand tech team. But before I go further about myself, I would like to know a little bit about you as well. So I would like to see your hand if you ever designed a website. I guess there are at least, a few web designers here. And are there also people who have implemented their own design into a working website as well already? Yeah, I see a few. Okay, that's very interesting to know. So today I'll be talking about how we approach this at CanDesign. The title already gives away some things about creative visual development. And we'll have a deeper dive in there. But first a little bit about myself. This is my dog, Twix. I'm also kind of a foodie. I work in a pizza bakery here in Antwerp in the weekends. Next to that, I also like sports. This was me after finishing the some parts of the 1,000 kilometers of Kom op tegen kanker. It's something we did with a group of our colleagues together to raise awareness and money for cancer research. And then something else, when I'm on vacation, I like to go travel, and the adventurous, the better. Okay, so those are a few of my passions, and some other stuff that I'm passionate about is sustainable. I just want to touch on that very briefly because I think it doesn't receive as much attention as it should. Within sustainable web design, we are researching how we can create, design, and develop our products with the least amount of carbon footprint that we can bring. I think it's a very interesting but also important topic. It becomes more and more important in the future, but that's a whole different talk on itself, on its own. So something else I'm passionate about is accessible web design. Also something I wanted to briefly mention. It's when we are designing and developing that we ask ourselves the right questions about if a person with, for example, a visual impairment can also see and access everything. Does everything have enough contrast? But also, if someone wants to use your product and they can't use a regular mouse with their hands, can they also only using the keyboard, for example? Something else. That's something I was that came onto my radar pretty late, so I wanted to mention it, but also that could be a whole different talk on its own. The last thing I'm passionate about is no-code and low-code development. It's something we really embrace at CanDesign as well, so a little story of how I rolled into it. I started my career or my studies very technical as a web developer, just full code all day. But I was missing the creative and the visual side of it. So I tried to turn things around, and I started doing more UI and UX design, also general graphic design. But then I was missing out, I felt like, on the technical side. But then I discovered Webflow, and for me, that was the tool that really could combine the technical side of web development and the creative part of it. Luckily for me, Webflow is a tool that we really embrace here at CanDesign as well. So now I'm gonna give you a few reasons why we think this is such an awesome tool. First and foremost, it gives more power to the designers. It's a no to low code tool, which means we don't need a development team to work on it. The designer can be the developer. It also means that it's really, you're not limited to what a developer can do in terms of interactions or anything like that. If you can imagine it, there is a way to build it within Webflow. A second reason why we think Webflow is an awesome tool is the editor it comes with for the clients as well as for the designer or the developer, and also the content management system. The editor, it's very easy for the clients. They can just log into it and they'll have a visual representation of their website, and onto that representation they can just edit any text, images, links. Of course, if we allow it, if we configure it to be changeable for the clients. So that takes a whole lot of overhead for the designer or the developer making the website, and gives a lot more freedom to the clients to do what they want when they want it. A second big part of Webflow is a content management system. We use it, it's also very friendly for the developers and the clients alike. Within there we can have, when there are multiple pages following the same structure, we can set it up so the client can very easily add pages or remove them without having to really go in the back end of the website. Here we can see how it is working. The first one is the editor. There you can see your website and how you can just easily edit everything and publish it as you go. The second one is the backend that the client would see if they want to add pages or items to their content management system. So a case of where we did it and where it proved to be very useful is for De Rijen. It's a website we launched something over a year ago, and since then the team of De Rijen got a little workshop about the editor and the CMS, and from there on they could just edit their own website, have everything changed when they want it. Or for example, if we go to their offering, right now they have the Halloween walk. They could just edit themselves without any developer having to be in between to edit. And they are very happy with how it works and all the freedom that they gained from this. A third reason is more possibilities for the client to collaborate. This is taking it a step further than just the editor and the CMS. What I mean with this part is we can also give the client access to the Webflow designer. That's where we as designer or developer are working in as well. But we wouldn't recommend it for all the clients because it's a lot of freedom but also a lot of responsibilities. But some clients for who it has proven very useful for us last years and the last websites we launched are more the bigger clients with their own marketing teams, because there are already designers and technical people who can take this job. How we approach it back then, if we want to do it like that. So this is one of the cases for where we do it. This one is another one. How we approach it then is we set up a whole component library, and of course we make sure that everything is responsive, everything is easily accessible and everything like that. And from there on the clients can just choose the components they want in the component library and drop it on the pages that they want to create. So then they really have the full freedom of making everything they want. They can also easily unlink a component, and then it's like they have all the freedom that we have as well. Now, this is probably an interesting part for the UXers here. It's perfect for developing proof of concepts and minimum viable products. Why is this such a great tool for it? It has practically no development costs, so you can go really feel forward, try things. Does it work? Doesn't it work? If it doesn't work, you can make adjustments and have quick iterations on your designs. And also, like, it's more advanced prototyping than in Figma or in XD, for example, because it's really working and interacting with the browser and how it would act as a real product. And then if you really want to take it next level, then there's also the DevLink that Webflow launched, I think, about 1 year ago. In this example, Webflow is used as a component library, like the live component library, where everything is updated in the front end by the designer, how they want it. They can decide about the interactions, the colors, and everything like that. But then it's synced with a real development project for a bigger app or something. So really the front end and the UX can be controlled by the designer, and from there on the developers would pick it up and use it in the app they are building. On to the next one, reason number 5. It's somewhat more technical, but also very important. All the code that is produced under the hood is clean code. That's very important for the search engine optimization. If you don't have the right structure on your website, you will not have the best SEO. For accessibility, just the same. For example, Webflow takes care of image optimizations as well. It takes care of your hosting and make sure you always have a great speedy website. The fact that it's clean code also means it's very scalable. If for some reason the client wouldn't want to work with Webflow anymore or would want something more robust, then they can just export everything and they have all the functioning underlying code ready to use in every other environment that they would want. Number 6, also a little bit more technical, but also Webflow takes care of things like hosting, code optimizations, so everything is minified and works fast. Bandwidth, if you have a website that has usually 2 visitors a week, and at the day of your event, it's suddenly 2,000 in one day, all those things are no problems anymore. You don't have to worry about security and data compliance. All of the in my opinion, more difficult things about web development are taken out of your hands, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. This also means that there is more budget and time left to do the fun stuff and to really think about the design and the optimizations, the interactions, which we can all configure in Webflow. Reason number 7, it just works. Back when I was working as a software developer, I would spend days searching for why something didn't work, that one bug, that one semicolon somewhere in the code. When we don't have to write all that code manually, but it's being taken care of under the hood, we don't have to worry about it anymore, which also means, again, more time for the fun stuff, more time for the interactions and the design, which we really want to spend our time doing instead of looking for why something is broken somewhere. Number 8. In the introduction, we heard about the passionate community of the UX Belgium. It's kind of the same with the no-code and low-code movement, and it's also growing and getting bigger. Also, more and more companies see the advantages of it and are open for it. It's also very starter friendly. There's a lot of content that you can find when you want to get into it, from Webflow themselves, but also from the community that produces and just hands out content because they're also enthusiasts about it. And then there are a lot of fun, inspirational events happening as well to keep on going and to get to the next level. The number 9, we're nearly there. If Webflow for some reason doesn't deliver just the specific thing that you want, there's a number of extensions, platforms, and if you really need something specific, APIs that you can connect with and then build from there. Some examples of the tech stack that we have at CanDesign. Of course, first and foremost, Webflow, but we also have Wist, which can be another layer onto Webflow. There are things like Zapier and Make where we can connect Webflow to, and those are, by the way, also no-code tools. Then there we can configure if something happens here in Webflow, then we want that to happen in another app. So there are really no limitations on what you can do with it if you really want to get into it. Also, if you would be interested in this, those are all links and the website. I will share the website address so you can go into it yourself. Some other tools we have here, Xano, it's a no-code database or backend provider. We have Attributes, which can add layers of functionality onto Webflow that are not there on the normal version. And then we have a few tools to do member websites and, for example, have payment while on your website, and so on. Also HubSpot integration for the marketing side of things, and the list goes on and on. And then number 10, it's just a lot of fun. That's, of course, something personal, but going back to my personal story, I felt like really the development of a website, full code, only seeing the code screens, I didn't get any, I felt like I needed something else, but then also only designing and only being the creative guy, I missed something as well. But for me, yeah, Webflow is like the perfect blend between the creative and a technological aspect of web development. And then I wanted to end with some memes to really state why Webflow is so great. I haven't worked with Weebly yet, but I'm for sure that I never waited on updates in Webflow. I know I have made a few WordPress websites in my career, and at least a few years ago, it was always a hassle keeping everything, all the plugins up to date. That's not an issue in Webflow. Shopify is actually a pretty decent backend for an e-commerce website, but then you don't have the creative freedom as a designer to just do what you want in the front end. That's also an integration for Webflow, by the way. So it can be a great addition to Webflow, but I wouldn't want to use it to build my own front end. Imagine a world where all sites are responsive. Within Webflow, it really goes like a breeze. You can switch between different breakpoints for tablets, mobile, and then visually edit your design how you like it, so that it's never a problem. Also, we don't have issues with clients that break things by accident, because we can give them access to what we want them to get access from. If we don't want them to change the background image of a banner, then we just don't unlock it for them. What if I told you building a website doesn't have to be painful? Again, for me, Webflow brought out the fun in web development again. Okay, that's kind of what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Much. I think we'll take a few questions, but just to get started, so the first thing that I wrote down is I think we're all really familiar with like HubSpot, Squarespace, Wix. Can you maybe say like the main difference? Is it that you have more design control?
Indeed.
Yeah, okay.
With all those, it's mainly you either start from a template, not really the blank canvas with all the possibilities that you have in Webflow. And if you want to go really, really custom, then in the end you will need a developer, and for Webflow that's not needed anymore.
Right, okay.
So you really have all the controls in one view, and it's for just designers with a little bit of technical knowledge, they can do everything they want.
Okay, so you're still heavily using like Figma and making your own
designs? Yeah, all designs we do at Can Design are all, the design is 100% custom, and then we implement it into Webflow.
Okay, interesting. Cool. Are there any questions?
What kind of technical knowledge are you talking about? Do some sort of beginner's coding knowledge, or which languages would be maybe sufficient, or just general information about that? Thank you.
So to get started with Webflow, you don't really need any technical knowledge, but as you go deeper and deeper into it and you really want to go next level, then it's just good to know what you are doing in Designer. You can of course see it, everything, but then if you know what impact it will have on the underlying HTML, CSS and JavaScript, then you can really take it to the next level and have everything as optimized as it can be. But to get started, there's Webflow University, which also helps for non-technical people to really get into the technical space more. To get started, you don't really need too much knowledge, but it's a welcome addition. You're welcome.
I'm always a bit skeptical about using those no-code, low-code platforms, because you always need to design taking into account is going to be built in Webflow. What's your experience with that?
Do you mean on the taking the while designing?
While designing, like you can go all the way, or just have a blank canvas and draw whatever is the best experience in your opinion, because you always have to think about, oh no, you can't do that in Webflow, so I need to build this up this way.
Well, if you use Webflow components that are pre-built by Webflow themselves, then you have some limitations, but when you start in Webflow and you don't use those components, then you really have the blank canvas, and if you then know a little bit of how it will interact, then there's like a lot of freedom. I know it was before I started working here, but for our designers, once we started using Webflow, it was really a big relief, as they could just, of course they will check if things are possible first, but they told us like it's so much freedom we gained at once, because essentially in Webflow it's a visual builder, but you are building the HTML, CSS and JavaScript. It's just not writing it yourself anymore, but it gets written for you with the things you are deciding. In my experience, Webflow is the best tool to not have to compromise on designs and still have a fast development track.
I'll come over there, but there's a quick question from the online, which I think is somewhat related, and it's like, how far can it really go? Is it really still for like really standard types of websites like portfolios and events and e-commerce, or can you really go full scale with like enterprise type software?
I'd say you can take it as far as you would like. So it's built initially for more like the marketing and the look how nice this interaction is and how cool it's interacting with everything, and all it follows my mouse movement, and you can just decide when and what and where everything. But it has matured a lot in the last couple of years, and we see a lot of bigger projects and also user-specific projects where they have to sign in and then have their own dashboard. We are building that for one of our clients as we speak as well. So it really goes far. I'd say if you really want to develop a new SaaS product, like really people using your software to then do other things, then then I would maybe start looking into things like the devlink I mentioned, to really have the real development apart from the front end.
All right.
But you can go pretty far.
That's great.
First of all, thank you. It was really interesting for me. I had a question. You mentioned that one of its benefits is that it's kind of, it can help for prototyping and testing. So I was wondering how you face prototyping in these projects. Do you start from early prototypes on Figma, or do you start prototyping here? So,
I think for most of the clients we start in Figma, but then the one client I mentioned earlier as well, for who we are now building a dashboard with all user-specific data and everything. We started in the beginning with Figma design for their front end of the website. Then we started building the login, everything, and the user management. And then once we started talking about the dashboard, we had some Figma designs, but they want to iterate so quickly, and then they want a chart of that data right there, and maybe let's try it with this chart right there. And at that point, we don't prototype it in Figma anymore, as most of it is there already. But then we just change it in Webflow and implement the changes that we are talking about at the moment directly into Webflow.
thank you.
So I think most of the time we start from Figma, but it can go to more Webflow first as well.
So you test it first maybe from Figma, and then for the next test or next prototypes you use Webflow. Yeah.
Yeah, mainly for like the next iterations of the same prototype.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I saw another one here.
Thank you. Kind of related to the previous question, I'm thinking about some of the emergent properties that may happen with you mentioning that Webflow is growing. So it kind of brings to mind for me the merging almost of like a UX design role and a front-end developer role. Another thing that comes to mind is like Figma's recent release of dev mode, and how that's starting to make that transition of like designer-developer handover becoming much easier and almost not even like a thing, it's all seamless. Do you have any comments on this and where you might see it going?
Yes, I think it will get more and more intertwined as everything is growing and it's becoming easier and easier. And also Figma has more possibilities to decide whether you want something, how you want something to scale and be responsive and everything. Then those properties can be taken over, because essentially from those properties you can know what CSS and HTML you will need in your working website. I haven't experimented with it as much as I would have loved to, but I think it's growing, and we will go on experimenting more with it. I do think that then at that point there is a big responsibility as well within Figma to get everything right for the accessibility stuff.
Cool.
Right. One more?
It was very interesting, thank you. I really liked your point, but I'm just now wondering what's the biggest downside of using Webflow? I'm suspecting the cost is quite high, or what is the downside?
Yeah, I'm kind of in love with Webflow, so I don't see any downsides. But we have our clients, we have a big range of clients, and there are like visitors and everything as well, and they don't see it as that big of an investment. It's not like unnamingly expensive or anything. Like for most of healthy companies, it's nothing they would worry about the costs. Yeah, so I'm sorry.
All right, thanks so much, Robbe. And thanks for all the questions too. It was really nice to be able to pick your brain on this a bit. And I am definitely going to be trying this out. I feel like I haven't dipped enough into the no-code solutions yet. So this is my inspiration and my call to action to do that. So thanks very much.
Just one thing I wanted to say maybe.
Yeah, of course.
We can share the link in the Slack group.
Sure.
And also at the end, if any questions would come up, you can just fill in the form and I'll be happy to answer those.
Nice. Very slick.
That was a last minute decision an hour ago.
That's great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take about a 15-minute break and come back at 8 o'clock for the second round. In the meantime, grab a beer. I think the toilets are this way, and we'll see you back here. Thanks.